Hi there, my name's Dawes and I work for the Brathay Trust, and today what I'd really like to do is give you a flavour of what we'll be talking about and the discussions we'll be having at our workshop at the World of Learning. I've chosen a topic today which is slightly controversial in some ways because I want to talk about people, place and planet, and how we can create nature-based solutions for both people and planetary well-being. The Brathay Trust has been delivering immersive and experiential programmes in the heart of the Lake District, nestled at the north end of Lake Windermere, for over 75 years. And I really do feel like we have a depth of understanding as to how we can meet the challenges that lay ahead for us. I guess there's an invitation here for you to go with us on this journey. We've been on a journey as an organisation, really looking at our contribution and how we can make a difference in the world. So what do I really mean by nature-based solutions in a well-being economy? Let's take a look at the next slide. So nature-based solutions, they are a way of both tackling climate change and biodiversity loss, and at the same time increasing our own well-being and resilience. Essentially, what we want to do is we want to refocus, and we want to refocus on not only our own well-being as humans, but planetary well-being too, and to create an economy which allows us to do both. We want to go beyond GDP. We want to go beyond measuring success as a financial imperative and move into a space where social and natural capital, i.e. nature and people, are at the centre of the economy. And so start to really think about how we can measure well-being, nature's well-being and our own well-being, and then forming an economy which supports us in thriving ultimately. The question is, can we create regenerative organisations that serve not only ourselves but nature too? And in order to do that, we have to start where we're at. And I guess sometimes when we talk about these big problems, often I, speaking for myself, can find myself hiding under the duvet going, I'm not sure I can deal with any of these really big problems. But actually what I want to do is I want to start where I'm at. So let's start where we're at today and try and consider nature. This situation often feels heavy and we feel overwhelmed, but ultimately what I want to do is kind of take ourselves from this busy world that we've created, where we can avoid the challenges that may be ahead of us. We can avoid them by purchasing things, we can avoid them by booking holidays, we can avoid them by busying ourselves with the things that are more important right now in our lives. And sometimes there's opportunity in stopping and thinking. It may be really uncomfortable, but I think sometimes it's a really useful way of focusing on what's important. Looking at the next slide. So when people come to Brathay, this is how they feel when they connect with nature. They feel like they have more clarity. They have energy to engage with activities and others. There's a calmness and a relaxed feel to being in nature, which brings us well-being. It brings us has a positive impact on us. And then it allows us to disconnect from maybe those daily stresses and those times where overwhelm could be possible. And so by doing that, ultimately what we are doing is connecting to nature. We are feeling good and it's increasing our resilience through positive affect. We love the fresh air, we love that feeling of being in nature, in green space, in blue space. We might be outdoors together as a group we might be sharing that social space, but at the same time, we're giving ourselves time and space to stop and to reconnect with ourselves. There's something really important in that, in my experience over the last couple of years, around not rushing through nature, but actually stopping to connect with yourself and with others in nature. It has an amazing impact on our own well-being, and also is a way of really thinking about how we can give back to nature and the likelihood of us acting for nature. So the theory goes that when we feel good about ourselves and we're functioning well, things happen. Learning happens, well-being happens, things happen, shifts occur. And actually, we want to really create at Brathay the environment for you to feel safe to have those conversations, feel safe to connect with yourself, and to come away from those immersive experiences really thinking about how you can be purposeful in your lives. People tell us that great bonds are made when they're at Brathay, that also great decisions are made because there's time and space to really think those decisions through, and that those real candid conversations can also occur in those safe spaces. So facing the facts of the monstrosity that is the climate crisis, the polycrisis that we're currently in, how can we develop coping strategies which will allow us to face the facts and the discomfort and the sort of cliche of feeling the fear and doing it anyway? How can we act towards both people and planet? We have to start where we're at, as I said, and so in the next slide I really wanted to kind of highlight and create a sense of it being okay that it's not okay, an awareness of the structures that are upon us which we have to operate within. And so we are in a system, I'd like to call it an ecosystem, where we use nature. We use nature for our gain, and we consume nature in all kinds of different ways. And this gives us a feeling of security in materialism. And what it brings us is a whole host of mental health problems as we disconnect from the world and we disconnect from nature. So what can we do? At Brathay, we create that time and space for you to connect to yourself, to connect to your team, to be able to really think about your purpose as an organisation. So nature needs our help. So what can we do to reimagine and let go of what is now? How can we change the narrative or the story? And how can we collectively generate new energy so that we can balance this change that's going to occur? At Brathay, we want to nurture deep connections, and we want you to spend time connecting with each other. So right now, I said this was going to be interactive, so here it comes. It would be lovely if you could really think about nature and your relationship with nature. So I don't know where you are in the world, but what I want to do is invite you to step outside, press pause, and take a walk into nature, whether that be sitting on a bench, whether that be walking through a field, whether that be in the park. And I want you to genuinely just be in nature and notice what that brings up for you. in terms of, yeah, what's in your heart as well as what's in your head. In fact, trying to get to your heart in order for it to tell you what to do. So my invite is to go be in nature, go sit for half an hour, and listen to yourself. I'm hoping by connecting with nature and creating time and space for you to deeply listen to yourself will lead to deep experiences and will ultimately lead to deep commitments. We are heading into a time in the world where we are going to have to be resilient and adaptable. We are going to have to work within the patterns of nature to continue to live on this planet. And so I want you to feel grounded in nature. I want nature to support you to make some great choices and for you to go differently in this uncertain world that we're in right now. For those of us who are in the NEC in Birmingham, it's going to be less easy, although there is nature. There's always nature, there's the sky, there are green spaces to find. So what we're going to do within the workshop is we're going to invite you through a couple of means to connect with nature. One of those is to take hold of your phone. I know that's sort of counterintuitive, and to find a picture of nature on your telephone that you've taken. One that has some kind of meaning to you. And to turn to the person next to you and to have a conversation where you describe the experience that led to taking the photograph, the feelings that are behind it, and what was important about it and what was meaningful in that situation, that led to you taking the photograph. So the questions to answer are: what made it possible for that experience to happen? And what do you keep alive from that experience when you look at that photograph? For the person that you're sat with, my invite is to deeply listen to what the person next to you is saying. Let them speak and just take in what they're talking about, rather than trying to agree or create your own experiences to validate them. I really just want you to actively listen to them. And so that will mean really having to put aside anything that is yours and immersing yourself in that person's experience. Having done that and been part of this conversation, two-way conversation, because I'm going to ask you to swap over and to listen to someone else's story. I want you to reflect back that person's story to them. So you're going to have a few minutes to listen and then collect your thoughts on what you heard and speak it back to that person in their own words. And for the person who's receiving this to listen to what that person heard out of interest and curiosity. I wonder if at this point the person who's heard those words back can really think about what they appreciated from that other person's narrative, and if there was anything that moved you in that, anything that gave you that feeling in your tummy or in your heart, which said, actually, this is really important to me, and I need to remember this. And as you do that, I want you to reimagine the story that you're telling and the narrative that you have around this, I want you to transfer it into different contexts. I want you to think, what's important about this situation in nature that I can take into the rest of my life and the world? And how might it show up? So I realise I've asked you a lot of questions there, and in real time, I will walk through this with the lucky people that will be in our workshop at the World of Learning. So to complete this, I guess I just want to recap really is on what we want to nurture. Ultimately, we want to nurture you. We want to create time and space where you can be in nature and really think about what's important to you. We want you to be able to build that positive affect, build that resilience, because ultimately resilient people create resilient cultures. And we want you to challenge yourself to think about regenerative practices. So how can you both create well-being for yourself and nature at the same time by giving back? Ultimately, that's how we're going to make sense of the future. Thank you for listening. It would be lovely to chat more. If you have watched this and it has struck a chord or generated some curiosity, give us a call at the Brathay Trust. I'm sure there's more we can do for you. Thanks for listening.